In this section, we're going to look at some word problems using our information on linear relations. So our first question says, Bongo's clown service charged a $50 fee. So right away there, I have a $50 fee for a clown to perform at a birthday party. So each person, or each party, he charges $50. Then plus an additional $2 per guest. $2 per guest. So that's another important piece of information I'm going to need when I try to write my equation. So let's look at question A. Write a linear equation that represents this situation. So x represents our number of guests. X is our number of guests. And y is the cost of a clown's services. So our total cost. So if y is our total cost, that is going to be our total on the one side of our equal sign. Now to find the rest of our equation, we have to use our information above. So we know that it's going to be at $50, a charge of $50. So that's going to be 50. And then it is also plus $2 per guest. So if it's x is our number of guests and it's $2 per guest, that is going to be 2x. $2 times the number of guests. So there we have our equation. Then for part B it says graph the equation on a coordinate plane. Okay, so we need some points to graph on that plane. So let's start with some x values and some y values. X values and find the y values. So if we plug in, let's pick 3 points in the x, and our x values here on this graph are all going to be positive, so I'm just going to pick 1, 2, and 3 and plug those in and see what we get in y. So when we plug in 1, we get 50 plus 2 times 1. That gives us 52. So our y value right here is 52. Now when we plug in 2, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 50 gives us 54. And then for 3, two times 3 is 6 plus 50 is 56. So now that we have some points, I can graph these on my graph over here. So I'm going to say that my x is going by ones here. So I have 1, 2, and 3. But my y values are pretty big. So I'm going to start our graph here, go by 50, 51, 52, 53, okay, so that one got kind of cut off here, but this is what it looks like here. Okay, so now when I graph these, I have 1 and 52, 2 and 54, and 3 and 56. And I can connect those points. Okay, our last piece says, Serena's parents paid $68 for a clown to perform at Serena's party. How many people attended Serena's party? So if our total was 68, that is our y, our total. So if we plug in $68 for y, now we have one variable left, so we can solve for x to figure out how many people. So if I subtract 50 from both sides, I want to get x by itself. 68 minus 50 gives me 18. And I have 2x left on this side. When I divide both sides by 2, I get 18 divided by 2 is 9. and my 2's here go to 1, so I have x equals 9. That means 9 people came to the party. Okay, let's try number 2. Number 2 says that Anne is saving money to buy a $2,500 used car. She started with $500 and has been saving $80 per week since then. Whenever I see that word per week, that's a clue that there's going to be a variable there. So $80 per week goes together. First question says, write a linear equation that represents this situation. Let x be the number of weeks, x is the number of weeks, and y is the total. So if y is my total, I know that's going to go on one side of my equal sign, and then my other side, it says she started with $500. So Anne has $500 already. And she saves $80 per week. So we're going to add on. She has $500 plus $80 per times the number of weeks. And our number of weeks is our x. So we have 500 plus 80x. Now when I graph this equation, I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to pick some x values and plug them in, see what I get for y. So my x, I'm going to try 1, 2, and 3. When I plug 1 in above, I get 500 plus 80 times 1. I get 580. 500 plus 80 times 2. 80 times 2 is 160 plus 500 is 660. And then 500 plus 80 times 3. 80 times 3 gives me 240 plus 500. I get 740. Okay, so now I can graph those on here. So if I have 1, 2, and 3, and my numbers are pretty big here, so instead of going by ones, I'm just going to go by 100s. Let's see. Call this 100, 200, okay, and we'll have to estimate these graphs a little bit. So for 1, it's about 580, so that's going to be right about here on our graph. 2, we have 660, so that's going to be right about here. And 3, 740 will be right about there. We can connect our points. Okay, and our last part here, since Anne needs $2,500 to buy the used car, how many weeks will she need to save? So if we need a total of $2,500, that is going to be our y. That's our total we're trying to get. And we want to know how many weeks. And we know that is our x. So we are trying to solve for x in this case. So same thing we did above, we subtract our 500. We get 2,000 equals 80x. Divide by 80. And 2,000 divided by 80 gives me 25. So that means she needs to save for 25 weeks to buy her used car.